first stop was the Congress Hall, the biggest preserved National Socialist monumental building. It was intended to serve as a Congress Center for the Nazi Party, officially the National Socialist German Workers' Party, with a self-supporting roof, and would have provided 50,000 seats. Part of this lake was drained, and a lighthouse and swimming pool were destroyed to make room for the Congress Hall. The design, especially the outer facade, was inspired by the Colosseum in Rome. The building started in 1935. It reached a height of 128 feet with a diameter of 820 feet, and the building remains unfinished and without a roof. Today it's used for a variety of events. The Documentation Center is a museum in the north wing of the unfinished Congress Hall. It was established in 1994. Its permanent exhibition, Fascination and Terror, is concerned with the causes, connections, and consequences of National Socialism in Germany. It endeavors to explain what led to the Nazis' criminal exercise of power. A further goal is a frank presentation of the violent consequences that ensued. The entire rally grounds cover 7 square miles. The actual rallies were held on the Zeppelin field, so named because one of Count Zeppelin's airships landed there in 1909. Nazi Party rallies were held here annually from 1933 to 1938. They were carefully planned propaganda events. Marching contingents, parades, memorial events for the dead, and displays by the armed forces were intended to demonstrate strength and communal spirit. The grandstand was built between 1935 and 1937 with concrete and brick faced with slabs of limestone. It was modeled after the Pergamon altar built in the 2nd century BCE. In 1878, a German engineer started excavating in Pergamon. Relief panels from the altar were then taken to Berlin. At the end of World War II, the Soviets took part of it to Leningrad as war reparations. It was later returned to Berlin in 1958. Here's what the grandstands look like today. There was discussion of totally destroying everything, but they kept part of it. April 22, 1945, a victorious U.S. Army destroyed one of the greatest symbols of Germany's Nazi regime, the giant marble swastika that overlooked the Zeppelin field. If you're interested, you can go online and see the swastika being blown up. Today, the area is devoted to sports, soccer or football fields, and bike and car races, among other activities. Construction of Nuremberg city walls started in the 12th century. When completed, they were about 3 miles altogether. Many sections of the walls were destroyed in World War II, but they've been rebuilt, and there's about 2.5 miles of walls today. Before World War II, Nuremberg had 88 towers. Today, there's still 71. There are 7 gates to the city. 4 are defensive gate towers, 2 are pedestrian passages, and 1 gate leads to the castle. 4 big defensive towers were originally square. With the invention of guns and cannons, they discovered that cannonballs and bullets were more likely to be deflected off round surfaces than those straight-on squared ones. So they just rounded off a tower around the square inside tower. Around 1430, they built a moat around the city. It was 20 feet deep and 40 feet wide. However, they never filled it in, and now it's a nice walking path and park. Palace of Justice was chosen to hold the war trials after the end of World War II because it was undamaged, was large enough, and included a prison complex. The purpose was to convict the defendants, but also to assemble irrefutable evidence of Nazi crimes. Between November 20th, 1945 and October 1st, 1946, the trials were held in room 600. The 4 Allied countries each appointed a chief prosecutor, and there were 9 judges. The tribunal tried 21 of the most important surviving leaders of Germany. 3 others had committed suicide, including Adolf Hitler. On October 1st, 1946, the tribunal convicted 19 of the defendants and acquitted 3. Of those convicted, 12 were sentenced to death, 3 were sentenced to life imprisonment, and 4 to prison terms ranging from 10 to 20 years. In subsequent trials, 199 defendants were tried, 161 were convicted, and 37 were sentenced to death. 13 of the 24 death sentences were carried out.
You can see it's an active prison to this day. You can see they're doing some digging work. I don't know.